And welcome back to Watchbox Studios and Watches Tonight. I'm your host, Tommaso. Thank you for joining in far and wide.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Watch Insider. My name is Brian, and thank you for logging on.
Hello and welcome to another installment of the Trading Desk. This is episode 49, guys. This is absolutely insane. 49.
Jumping into our next topic, because we kind of got to do this, I had a request to revisit my Mythbusters segment for watches. So, Mythbusters 2, we're calling this Mini Mythbusters because we're just busting 3 myths. The Kraken, as far as I know, not real, but I hope it is. Now, first myth, platinum watches are more expensive than gold because platinum is more expensive as a commodity than gold. Historically, there was some truth to this. At most points in history, platinum has been worth more than gold. If we go back to May 2008, so we jump back 11 years, you'll actually find that at the time, platinum by the ounce was selling for $2,008, and gold was selling by the ounce for about $879.50, which is to say, platinum sold for a huge multiple above gold, and historically, that's sort of the pattern. But something started to change, and the metals started to converge after that. And around December of 2015, gold overtook platinum in commodity value, with the result that today, as of today, the last I checked, an ounce of gold was going for $1,296, and platinum for $858.64, which is to say, on a pricing basis, it's been a long time since a platinum watch's raw materials have cost more than gold. So why do they still cost more? Well, there's a good reason for that, and it's because platinum is a beast to work. Guys who make cases out of platinum perennially wear out their tools because you have to make so many second passes. Because platinum is so soft, it heats up, it deforms. There's a lot of fine work in creating and then hand finishing platinum cases and watch parts, and they do wear out tooling. Watch refinishers hate them because when you try to restore the finish of a platinum watch, it'll do things like bubbling, it'll deform, it'll melt and flow. I know one refinisher who has literally built his career on fixing damaged platinum watches that other refinishers have boiled. So, that's why there is still a substantive basis for platinum watches costing more, even though platinum itself now costs far less than gold. Myth busted. Okay, here's a big one and a great one. Gerald Genta first designed the Royal Oak for Bulova, the American entry-level watch brand, before he gave it to Audemars Piguet and sold it to Piguet in 1972. Well, this is an easy mistake to make because a Bulova version of the Royal Oak was available during the 1970s. And given the fact that Bulova had mass market penetration, mass market advertising, a low and accessible price point, and very few people were aware of the then obscure and absurdly priced steel sports watch from Le Brassus, folks remember over 40 years later that Bulova, whereas from the time they might not have been as aware of the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. But the fact remains, the Bulova was an unauthorized knockoff of the AP. Bulova could, so it did. At no point did Gerald Genta offer that design lawfully to Bulova, nor did Audemars Piguet say, it's cool, rip us off to no end. So, myth busted, Gerald Genta did not offer the Royal Oak to Bulova before AP, even though they existed in the same 1970s time frame. You'll see this all over the internet on fora, far-flung. 100 meters isn't sufficient for a dive watch. I've seen this written and repeated across the internet, supported only by anecdotal accounts and people who more or less feel, 100's not enough. But do you really need a deep sea to go diving? Fun fact, the deep sea, tested 25% over its dial rating, is actually tested to 16,000 feet before it leaves Rolex. That's what you're getting for your money, but I digress. Early Rolex Submariners, like the 6536 Small Crown, did feature professional diving status and 100-meter ratings, and you better believe that people used those in the line of work back in the late 1950s. In fact, today, In the present, we have a definition that delineates what a dive watch is and what its minimal rating should be. We have a helpful definition courtesy of the folks at the International Standards Organization. It's the 6425. And I quote, passed in 1996, a watch designed to withstand diving in water at depths of at least 100 meters and possessing a system to control the time. They're not talking about Doc Brown's DeLorean there. They mean a unidirectional rotating dive bezel. So the ISO recommends that if you do have a 100-meter dive watch, that appropriate activities would include water sports, recreational snorkeling, and swimming. So it is a hardcore diver? No, it's not a hardcore diver, but it does meet the definition. Other criteria also apply, to be sure, but using 100 meters as a litmus test to disqualify a dive watch is illegitimate. That said, not every 100-meter watch with a rotating bezel is an ISO diver, so be sure to call ahead, and I'd ask the brands, not the boutiques, because boutiques never know, whether the watch is an ISO dive watch, even if it looks and is rated as a diver.
All right, so I have one that I want to start with right here. So I actually just...
Technically an independent, but on a very large scale.
Yes, one of the last. So I just came back from a Travel Time and World Time event in New York with Patek Philippe, so I felt it was only right that I bring one of my favorites here on the show. Here we have a 5130 Platinum. So this is I'd call it second iteration. I mean, it's not actually the second iteration, but the second most recent iteration of Patek Philippe's World Time. Here we have it in platinum with the blue guilloche center dial. Absolutely beautiful. You know it's platinum because you have the diamond there at the 6 o'clock. And I learned a whole lot about the Patek Philippe World Time and Travel Time functions, most notably that they were all predominantly invented by a gentleman by the name of Louis Cartier, who did a lot of work for quite a few brands. He did work for Cartier, he did work for Longines, but most notably he did a lot of work for Patek Philippe, and he was the one that came out, invented their original travel time functions and world time functions. And I don't know if it's his grandson or great-grandson, is actually an archivist at Patek Philippe today.
Yeah. Louis Cartier actually invented the world time system back in the 1930s, Patek with its 1415, and then later on Vacheron Constantin, also during the 1930s, adopted the world time complication. The interesting thing is he continued to evolve the type, and during the 1950s, along with Patek Philippe, he patented the adjuster system that evolved his conventional 24-hour counterclockwise rotating disc and the individual reference cities. He added a system that allowed you to seamlessly jump reference city and let the watch do the math. So you have the ability to change the reference city. Your reference city goes at 12 o'clock, and the watch automatically makes that time zone adjustment. So whatever reference city you're in, you are correctly referenced at center as well as at 12 o'clock. It's a very cool system that's built on the 240 micro rotor. This is the 240 HU for Universal. This is actually probably still the most interesting movement Patek makes. Released in 1977, it's got a micro rotor so you can see everything as though it were a manual, and it's super slim as though it were a manual. So I love the fact that it's a beautiful movement and it's the premium automatic. To this day, you tend to see the 324s on most of the autos and very few 240s.
Yeah, so, and I really feel like the World Times don't get enough love these days. They're super simple to use. They're quintessential Patek. I've just, learned a lot about the references that I didn't know before. And actually, if you look here at the hands, the round hour pointer there actually is meant to represent the globe, and that little arrow there that you see pointing there, some variations have it there at the top, some have it going all the way through the hand, represents the prime meridian.
So as you can see, a lovely center Soleil style guilloche pattern, galvanized blue. These are wonderful watches, and actually this is one of the larger Patek World Time watches you're going to find, because the subsequent model was actually sized down from this one's 39.
All right, last one, but not least, and this is actually the most competitive in my opinion. So we have Rolex versus Omega, both iconic chronographs, both in yellow gold, both with ceramic bezels. Rolex on a rubber strap. The Omega can be on a rubber strap if you like. One's a 40 millimeter, one's a 42. One is essentially unlimited supply from Rolex, limited by demand.
Yeah.
The Omega is limited by design to 292 pieces special edition. So you're going to have, and right now market price roughly $28,000 for the Daytona, and it says 17, but roughly it's actually like $18,000 you're going to pay for that Omega Moon watch. So you're going to pay a little bit below the retail on both these watches, but again, one is limited to 292 pieces. Okay, brilliant blue dial, special edition, and it's full solid gold. And if you do any research in this watch, you're going to find out amazing amounts of details, right? And on the Rolex, you have ceramic bezel, amazing fit and finish. A watch that when people see it, they're going to know that you spent some money on it. So Israel, where are you at? Because I have a feeling I know where you're at.
Really?
Yep.
All right, so I'm a Speedmaster guy. Got introduced to Speedmasters when I first started working here. Owned several vintage, some modern. Love Speedmaster. However, a Speedmaster is stainless steel. It has a black bezel. It has a black dial. It's the Moon watch. I have to go with the Daytona.
Really? So you're paying the 20.
I love Speedmasters. I love them. However, I'll pay the 28 for the Daytona.
Really?
We're comparing, two of these in precious metal. I think I'm not against a Speedmaster in precious metal. If that's your prerogative, go for it. Right? It's an amazing watch. I love chronographs. They're for their utility. I mean, they're very useful. At work, I just start timing people. How long does it take you to do that?
Well, I use a chronograph when cooking. I mean, very useful complications. Obviously, in yellow gold, this is more about more about a status symbol or like a celebration of a success.
No, I mean,
because you can get both these watches in stainless steel, which, by the way, the price difference is actually going to be a greater difference in stainless steel. You can buy for about $3,000. You can buy a steel Speedy, and you're going to pay about $20,000 for a steel and ceramic Daytona. So, which is even crazier. But all right, so there you go. So now we're seeing,
steel, absolutely would have went with the Speedy.
Really?
Would have went with the Speedy.
Why is that?
I don't know. There's just something about the history behind the Speedmaster, the Moon watch, the way they age. Just the way that the bezel gets dented, it fades, all of it. I mean, what's not to like about
If you were paying
$20,000,
$20,000, you wouldn't be happy about bezels being dented, though.
No, and I mean, look, the ceramic bezels are a good representation of just culturally where we're at today.
Sure.
We're spending more time investing in things that are going to last longer. Technology is advanced, and I appreciate ceramic for that. However, the rest of the watch is going to patina differently, and that bezel is just going to stay there. It's not going anywhere.
So my buddy John Doe is actually, well, that's a good point. I like that. So my buddy John Doe has a question for Israel. It says, what low-end watches do you like? You all picked higher price watches. Well, first of all, so let me address something. Yeah. It's all relative, my man. Low price, high price, it's all relative. I like some low price watches. One of my favorite watches. I own 7 Fridays. One of my favorite watches is an Anonimo. So I can certainly appreciate a watch no matter what the price point is. But Israel, tell me.
So, Nomos.
Okay.
But
I think he's talking about lower than that, but go ahead.
Lower than that? I mean, so we're going all right. Pre-owned.
Pre-owned Nomos?
Yeah.
There you go.
No, it doesn't have to be pre-owned Nomos. I mean, it could be pre-owned anything. I mean, there's so much to be had, especially, I think CQ recently on one of the videos went into some of the brands that are no longer here, and they can be had so cheap. I mean, you go on eBay, and they end up being project watches, but
sure,
they all have value movements in them. They're all the same. A lot of these manufacturers were case manufacturers in the past, and maybe they made their own dial, but